My name is Mary D. Ortegon, and I am 31 years old. He posted, finally got her to sign that prenup. She doesn't know I changed the pages while she was signing. LOL. I stared at the words for a full minute, like my eyes would eventually decide they were lying to me. The screen glowed against the dark of my bedroom, and I could hear my own breathing, slow and steady, which felt wrong for what I was reading. I was on his close friends list, obviously. I was his fiancée. 2 years together, 6 months engaged, wedding in 3 weeks, or it was. His family had money, the kind that smells like polished leather and private offices. His dad owned a chain of car dealerships. His mom didn't work, but called herself a lifestyle consultant, whatever that meant. They insisted on a prenup before they gifted us house money, because in their world, even generosity comes with paperwork. I'm in HVAC sales. I make decent money, nothing wild. I had about 40 grand saved, my car, and a solid 401k. He was a dental hygienist making around $65,000 a year, which was enough to live comfortably if you weren't trying to cosplay as old money. The prenup meeting had been last Tuesday at his parents' house, in their dining room that looked like no one was allowed to eat anything messy there. His dad, Douglas, ran the meeting like he was presiding over a courtroom. 8 pages. Standard language. Premarital assets separate, marital assets split. No alimony unless we crossed a certain number of years. It wasn't romantic, but I didn't expect romance from a man whose idea of family bonding was talking about depreciation schedules. Here's the thing about me. I'm paranoid. Always have been. Not the fun kind, not the conspiracy kind, just the kind that comes from being the person who always cleans up after other people's mistakes. So when we sat down to sign, I propped my phone up on a bookshelf behind me like I was charging it. I was recording the entire thing. Page by page, initials, signatures, the whole process. I watched my own hands move in the video later, like they belonged to someone else, calm and compliant. He signed too, smiling in that way people smile when they think they're winning something. Around page 4, he suddenly said he needed water, then grabbed the whole stack of papers and walked out of the room. He was gone for about 90 seconds. At the time, I didn't think much of it. People take breaks. People get nervous. People do weird little things when lawyers are watching. He came back, placed the stack down, and we continued. Initials. Signatures. Last page. Done. This morning, I was scrolling before work when his story popped up. The photo was him holding the prenup like a trophy, grinning like a child who just got away with stealing cookies. The caption was right there, bold and smug, telling the world he swapped the pages while I was signing. His friends were laughing in the replies, hyping him up like fraud was a sport. Someone wrote, "Yes, get that bag," and another wrote, "She'll never see it coming," and I could feel something in my stomach go still. I didn't cry, I didn't throw my phone, I didn't even feel rage at first. I felt clean, like something had finally made sense. I pulled up the video from Tuesday, watched it once, then again, and sure enough, when he returned from his little water break, the pages weren't the same. The print quality was slightly different. The page numbers sat in a different position. It wasn't subtle once you knew what to look for. He had swapped the whole document right in front of everyone and then bragged about it online like it was cute. I screenshot everything. I screen recorded the story. I captured the comments. I downloaded the video and saved it in 3 different places because paranoia is only paranoia until it saves you. Then I commented on his post. Actually, I filmed the whole thing. He deleted it within 10 minutes. Too late. I blocked his number, closed the app, and called my lawyer. At 9:47 a.m., I was sitting in Dennis Kowalski's office watching him watch the video for the 3rd time, his eyebrows lifting higher each time like his face couldn't decide whether this was hilarious or horrifying. He looked at me and said the simplest thing in the world. "You're not marrying him. That's step 1. And I nodded, because for the first time in weeks, I wasn't confused about anything. The last 48 hours after that comment felt unreal, like I was watching my own life through a security camera feed. 10 minutes after I posted that I'd filmed the signing, he deleted the story. He couldn't delete the screenshots. He couldn't delete the video. And he definitely couldn't delete the part where he confessed in writing that he'd swapped legal documents. My phone started vibrating almost immediately. Calls, missed calls, messages from numbers I recognized, and a few I didn't. I didn't answer a single one. I was still sitting in Dennis's office when he drafted the first letter. It was clean, professional, and devastating. Video evidence of document fraud, social media confession, Prenuptial agreement void. Wedding canceled. Consider this formal notice of potential criminal charges. He sent it certified mail to my fiancé and his parents. He emailed it too, because Dennis likes redundancy almost as much as I do. Then I went home. The apartment we shared was in my name. He moved in 8 months ago. I unlocked the door, stood in the living room for a second, and let myself feel exactly one thing: relief. Then I got to work. I packed his clothes from the closet, folded everything neatly, stacked shoes by the door, boxed up his workout gear, books, toiletries, and that ridiculous collection of decorative pillows he insisted made the place feel curated. It took 4 hours. I didn't rush. I wasn't angry. I was thorough. When I finished, I called a locksmith and changed the locks. It cost me $180, worth every cent. I installed a door camera that same afternoon, because if there's one thing I learned growing up, it's that people who get caught don't suddenly become reasonable. At 6 that evening, the camera pinged. It was him, his mom, and his sister, Allison, all three standing there like they were about to stage an intervention. I opened the door with the chain on and gestured toward the boxes stacked neatly in the living room. "Your stuff is right here," I said. "You have 1 hour to get it out." He immediately switched to the soft voice. "Baby, we need to talk about this. It was just a joke." "A joke is a knock-knock. You committed fraud and bragged about it online." His mom cut in, sharp and offended. "The prenup is still valid. You signed it." "I signed a document. He swapped it. I have video proof. My lawyer has everything." Allison stepped forward, chin high. "You can't just kick him out. He lives here." "He's not on the lease. I absolutely can." 1 hour, I said again. He tried crying next, asked where he was supposed to go. I told him it wasn't my problem anymore. His mom's face went red, and she asked if I knew who they were, like that was supposed to scare me. I told her their money couldn't undo a video of their son committing a felony. I closed the door and watched on the camera. They loaded the boxes into his mom's SUV in 3 trips. Lots of angry whispering, him crying, Allison calling me names under her breath. They left at 7:14 p.m. At 9, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Douglas Ashworth. You've made a serious mistake. Call me immediately." I replied with one sentence. "Discuss with my attorney, Dennis Kowalski, at Kowalski and Associates." 3 minutes later, he texted back, calling me smug and threatening to bury me in legal fees. Screenshot sent to Dennis. Wednesday morning, the calls started again, from different numbers this time. I finally answered one out of curiosity. He begged. Said we were supposed to get married in 3 weeks. Asked what he was supposed to tell people. I told him to tell the truth, that he committed fraud and got caught. He said it wasn't fraud. He was just protecting himself by switching documents and lying about it. He even said his dad's lawyer told him it was fine to make adjustments. That stopped me cold. I asked him directly if his father's lawyer knew he swapped the pages. Silence. Long silence. I told him Dennis would love to hear that and hung up. By Thursday morning, his attorney withdrew from representing him. Dennis said that was what lawyers do when they see evidence they can't defend. Meanwhile, he went nuclear online. Long posts about me being abusive, narcissistic, cruel. The comments filled with sympathy until my sister commented something very simple. "Weird how you're leaving out the part where you committed fraud and posted about it online." He deleted the post. That night, at 11, his dad showed up at my door, furious, demanding I open it. I spoke through the camera and told him to leave or I'd call the police. He threatened me again. I told him threatening someone while committing document fraud wasn't a strong legal position. He stood there staring at the camera for 30 seconds, then left. Friday morning, Dennis called me and said something that made everything feel real. "We should file criminal charges." I asked if the evidence was enough. He said it was a prosecutor's dream. And for the first time since this started, I smiled. We filed the charges Monday morning. Dennis walked me through it step by step with a detective named Rodriguez. We sat in a small interview room while he watched the video, then the screenshots, then the close friends post with the comments cheering him on. Rodriguez's face shifted from professional neutrality to something like disbelief. He shook his head and said it was the dumbest crime he'd seen all year. He pointed at the screen and said she literally recorded her own confession. He said they'd forward everything to the DA, and with evidence like this, it would likely be picked up. By Monday afternoon, my phone started lighting up again. He called from every number he could find. I finally answered one because I wanted to hear how he'd try to spin it. He sounded panicked now, not smug. He said the police had contacted him and asked how I could actually do this to him. I told him he committed fraud and asked what he expected. He said this would ruin his life. I told him committing felonies tends to do that. He said I was supposed to love him. I told him love doesn't include lying and swapping legal documents behind someone's back. He screamed and hung up. Tuesday morning, things escalated in a direction I hadn't expected. My boss called me into his office and said HR needed to talk to me. Someone had sent an anonymous email claiming I'd been sexually harassing coworkers, detailed accusations, names, events that never happened. My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. I'd worked there 6 years without a single complaint. HR interviewed me for over an hour, asked about every female coworker I'd ever worked with. The HR manager looked uncomfortable reading the accusations out loud, like she already knew they were nonsense but had to go through the process. I called Dennis as soon as I left the building. He told me to document everything and not to panic. This was retaliation, and retaliation looks bad in court. Wednesday morning, I walked out to my car and found all 4 tires slashed. $800 in damage. Security footage in my building's parking lot was conveniently malfunctioning that night. I filed a police report and told them about the ongoing situation. They wrote it down and said they'd look into it. That afternoon, my sister sent me a screenshot. Vanessa's mom had posted on Facebook about how her poor daughter was being harassed by a controlling ex-fiancé who wouldn't accept that the relationship was over. The comments were full of sympathy until someone asked for details. Her mom responded that I was stalking Vanessa and making false accusations to destroy her reputation. My sister replied with one line, "Weird that you're leaving out the part where she committed document fraud and admitted it online." The post disappeared shortly after. Thursday morning, Dennis called again. The DA picked up the case. Vanessa was being charged with forgery and fraud. He said they wanted me to come in the following week for a formal statement. The speed of it shocked me. Video evidence does that. Later that day, Dennis told me another lawyer had reached out on Vanessa's behalf, asking if I'd consider dropping charges if she paid the wedding cancellation costs. I laughed. Dennis told her that wasn't how criminal cases worked, especially once the DA had it. He said she sounded frustrated. Friday night, my doorbell rang. The camera showed Allison, Vanessa's sister, and 2 women I didn't recognize. They were yelling through the door, demanding I talk to them, accusing me of ruining Vanessa's life over a mistake. I told them to leave or I'd call the police. They refused. I called the police. When officers arrived, Allison argued until the officer told her she could leave or be cited for trespassing. They left in a storm of insults. Saturday morning, my mom called. She told me Vanessa's mother had shown up at my parents' house crying on their doorstep, accusing me of destroying her daughter. My dad told her that her daughter committed fraud and there was video proof. Vanessa's mom called him a liar. My mom told her to leave and said if she came back, they'd call the police. That was the first time I heard my mom say out loud that I'd done the right thing. Sunday, I found an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a check for $75,000 and a typed note saying final offer. Drop all charges. Sign the enclosed NDA. The NDA was absurd. I wouldn't be allowed to talk about Vanessa, the prenup, the charges, or even acknowledge she existed. I took a photo and sent it to Dennis. He replied with 2 words, absolutely not. I wrote declined across the check and mailed it back to her father's dealership. Monday morning, Dennis called again. Vanessa's lawyer had withdrawn. That made 3 attorneys who'd seen the evidence and walked away. The wedding would have been in 2 weeks. Instead, I was waiting for her arraignment. The arraignment happened 3 weeks later. She showed up with lawyer number 3, an expensive criminal defense attorney. Her father probably paid a fortune for. She pleaded not guilty. Her lawyer tried to argue that the Instagram post was clearly a joke and that the video didn't conclusively show document substitution. The prosecutor didn't argue back. He played the video on a large screen. You could see her pick up the stack. You could see the slight pause. You could see the difference in print quality when she returned. The page numbers sat lower. The font weight shifted. The room went quiet in that way that means a story just collapsed under its own weight. The judge set a trial date and imposed bail conditions. She was to stay away from me and my family. No contact. No exceptions. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to transcription. The message was from a woman named Brianna Chen. She said she dated one of Douglas Ashworth's business partners years ago and had heard what happened. She said this wasn't the first time. I called Dennis first. He told me to meet her in public and record everything. We met at a coffee shop. Brianna didn't waste time. She said Vanessa had done something similar 4 years ago with another fiancé, moving money out of a joint account over months. When he found out, Douglas paid him back and added $30,000 to sign an NDA and disappear. She said Vanessa called her recently, crying about how I was ruining her life, insisting she barely did anything wrong. Brianna recorded the call and handed it to me. Dennis forwarded it to the prosecutor. Pattern matters. At work, the HR investigation wrapped up. They interviewed every coworker I'd ever worked with, every single one. The complaint was dismissed. My boss apologized for the stress. I didn't feel relieved so much as validated. Lies don't survive light. Then Douglas showed up again. He tried to serve me civil papers for defamation and emotional distress through the door camera, threatening damages like a man reading from a script that had always worked before. Dennis laughed when he saw them and sent a response warning of counterclaims and attorney fees for abusive process. The papers disappeared as quickly as they'd appeared. A week later, the plea deal came through. She took it. 1 count of fraud, 18 months probation, community service, a fine, a permanent criminal record. No jail, but the kind of consequence that follows you everywhere. Her dental hygienist license was suspended pending review. Healthcare boards don't love fraud. The country club didn't renew her parents' membership. The dealership sales dipped. Social media accounts went dark. Lawyers stopped returning calls. I sold the engagement ring, used the money to pay off my car, and took my parents on a quiet weekend trip. They deserved it after strangers showed up at their door demanding I forgive a simple mistake. I started therapy, not because I felt guilty, but because I wanted to understand why I ignored the early signs, why I let someone move in so fast, why I didn't question power dressed up as charm. My therapist asked if I felt bad about pressing charges. I said no. If I hadn't, she would have done it again. Someone else might not have had a camera. And then a message arrived from her, handwritten, no return address. She wrote that she hoped I was happy now that I'd destroyed everything. I wrote back one sentence. I am very happy. Thanks for asking. 2 months after the prenup disaster, the noise finally faded. Her arraignment passed. The plea settled. The wedding date came and went like a ghost on the calendar. I repainted the bedroom, bought a couch I actually liked, threw away the things that didn't feel like me anymore. The apartment felt lighter, like it had exhaled. People asked if I'd forgive her. For what? I said. She never apologized. She still called it a mistake. You can't forgive someone who doesn't think they did anything wrong. I planned a trip to Colorado. Not a rebound trip, a quiet one. Mountains, space. A place where nothing was curated and nobody needed to be impressed. I kept my phone in airplane mode more than it was on. The last time I heard anything from her family was a rumor that her 4th lawyer was a public defender. Money runs out when lies get expensive. I learned something through all of this. Documentation is power, calm is leverage, and boundaries don't make you cruel. They make you free. Some people think rules don't apply to them until they meet someone who refuses to look away. She thought she could outsmart a prenup by committing fraud and bragging about it online. She thought money would erase consequences. She was wrong. I didn't blow up my life. I saved it.